The low hum of quantum processors created a subtle vibration beneath Emily Rodriguez's feet. She stood motionless, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display that stretched across the underground command center's massive curved wall. Dozens of technicians moved with practiced precision, their fingers dancing across interfaces that looked more like living art than traditional computer systems. Outside, the Florida night concealed more than just darkness. Beneath the seemingly innocent landscape of Cape Canaveral, a network of defense systems lay dormant but ready, a sleeping giant of human technological achievement that had been decades in the making. The facility itself was a marvel of misdirection, appearing from satellite imagery as nothing more than a standard research complex, its true purpose hidden behind layers of bureaucratic camouflage and quantum-encrypted security protocols. "Incoming hyperspace signature detected," called out Marcus Rice, the lid sensor analyst. His voice was calm, almost clinical, despite the magnitude of what was unfolding. A series of intricate holographic lines began to trace complex patterns across the display, each representing potential invasion vectors, probability matrices, and predictive engagement scenarios. Emily allowed herself a momentary glance at the mission clock. 17 years, 6 months, and 13 days of preparation were about to be tested. The project had begun as a whispered hypothesis in a classified Pentagon meeting, a radical concept that humanity needed to prepare for a threat most considered impossible. Most global leaders had dismissed the early warnings as paranoid fantasy. Most, but not all. The initial detection had come from a network of quantum entanglement sensors disguised as standard communication satellites. These weren't ordinary monitoring systems. Each was a quantum marvel that could detect minute variations in space-time, capable of identifying hyperspace intrusions milliseconds after they occurred. The sensors were the result of a black-budget program that had consumed billions of dollars and the collective genius of humanity's most brilliant minds. "Zorn Imperial Armada confirmed," Marcus announced, his fingers sliding across the holographic interface. Initial fleet composition: 417 primary combat vessels, 1,203 support craft. Estimated total crew complement: 2.6 million. Emily nodded, her mind already several steps ahead. The incoming fleet represented what most alien civilizations would consider an overwhelming force. To the unprepared, it would seem like certain annihilation. But preparation was humanity's greatest weapon. The underground facility was more than just a command center. It was the heart of a global defense network that had been carefully constructed over decades. No single nation controlled this system. It was a truly international effort, born from the understanding that planetary defense transcended political boundaries. Quantum computers in Beijing worked in perfect synchronization with neural networks in Silicon Valley, while advanced tracking systems in Brussels communicated instantaneously with sensor arrays in Australia. "Quantum shielding at maximum readiness," reported Sarah Klein, the systems integration specialist. Her hands moved with a musician's grace, adjusting complex defense matrices that existed simultaneously in multiple quantum states. Emily remembered the early days of the project. The countless meetings, the skepticism, the moments of breakthrough that seemed to defy everything humanity previously understood about defensive technology. They had studied every potential alien encounter scenario, developed countermeasures that went beyond traditional military thinking. The incoming Zorn fleet represented a civilization that had conquered hundreds of worlds. Their technology was considered the pinnacle of galactic achievement. They operated with a cold, calculated efficiency that had crushed resistance across multiple star systems. They believed themselves invincible. They were about to learn otherwise. "All global defense networks are synchronized," Marcus reported. "Quantum entanglement communication channels are stable. Predictive engagement algorithms are online." Emily Rodriguez allowed herself the slightest smile. The Zorn were approaching Earth thinking they were about to conquer a primitive world. They had no idea they were sailing into a carefully prepared trap that had been decades in the making. The first phase of humanity's response was about to begin. Grand Admiral Krelax watched in mounting disbelief as the first wave of Zorn attack ships began to disintegrate. What should have been a routine planetary subjugation was transforming into something entirely unexpected. The holographic displays aboard the command ship flickered with impossible data, ships vanishing not in traditional explosions, but in controlled quantum implosions that left no trace of their existence. Recalibrate defensive shields. He barked to his senior tactical officer, Commander Vexnar. The communication system crackled with an underlying tension that no Zorn warrior had experienced in generations. Their civilization had conquered hundreds of worlds, reduced entire species to servitude, and crushed any resistance with mathematical precision. But not here. Not on this seemingly insignificant blue planet. The first sign of trouble came with the orbital defense platforms, what initial scans had identified as space debris, old satellites, abandoned communication arrays, and random technological detritus, suddenly transformed. Each object resolved into a weapon of such complexity that Zorn's sensor systems struggled to comprehend its nature. In the command center beneath Cape Canaveral, Emily Rodriguez watched the engagement with a clinical detachment that belied the magnitude of the moment. Each defense platform was more than just a weapon. It was a quantum masterpiece of human engineering. The platforms operated on principles that would take the Zorn centuries to understand, let alone replicate. Quantum entanglement targeting is at 99.7% efficiency, Marcus Rice reported, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Predictive engagement models are exceeding all initial projections. The defense platforms weren't simply destroying Zorn ships. They were systematically dismantling the invasion force with a precision that bordered on the supernatural. Each platform used a combination of quantum communication, predictive algorithms, and multidimensional targeting that made traditional warfare look like children's games. Aboard the Zorn flagship, panic began to spread. Grand Admiral Krelax had never known defeat. His species had turned planetary conquest into an art form, reducing civilizations to rubble before they could even comprehend the threat. But Earth was different. Each destroyed ship disappeared without a trace, leaving no debris, no energy signature, just empty space where moments before a massive warship had existed. Tactical analysis. Krelax demanded, his voice a mixture of rage and growing fear. Commander Vexnar's hands moved across the sensor arrays, desperate to find some explanation. Sir, the targeting systems are operating on principles we cannot comprehend. It's as if the platforms can predict our movements before we make them. They're not just defending. They're anticipating. The quantum defense platforms were a testament to humanity's most closely guarded technological achievements. Each was a node in a global network that processed information at speeds that made Zorn computational systems look like primitive counting devices. They communicated through quantum entanglement, existed in multiple states simultaneously, and could adapt faster than any biological intelligence could process. Emily Rodriguez allowed herself a momentary smile. The platforms represented just the first layer of Earth's defense, a carefully constructed illusion designed to make their true capabilities seem almost magical. Second-wave defense protocols are standing by, Sarah Klein reported, her voice steady. The global network was more than just a defensive system. It was a message, a warning to any civilization that might consider Earth a potential target. The Zorn fleet continued to suffer catastrophic losses. What had been projected as a swift conquest was turning into a systematic annihilation. Each destroyed ship represented not just a military defeat, but a fundamental challenge to everything the Zorn understood about technological superiority. Grand Admiral Krelax watched in growing horror as his invasion force, the pride of the Zorn Imperial Armada, was being systematically erased from existence. The platforms didn't just destroy ships. They did so with a level of precision and predictive capability that suggested something far more terrifying than simple advanced technology. This was calculated. This was a demonstration. Recalculation complete, Vexnar reported, his voice trembling. We have lost 62% of our initial invasion force. and the rate of destruction is accelerating. Aboard the Earth Command Center, Emily Rodriguez knew this was just the beginning. The orbital defense was merely the first phase, a carefully constructed message to the incoming invaders. Humanity was letting the Zorn know exactly what they were dealing with, showing just a fraction of their true defensive capabilities. The universe was about to learn a lesson about underestimating the human species. The holographic war room of the Zorn High Council erupted in a cacophony of disbelief and mounting terror. Centuries of galactic dominance had never prepared them for the data streaming in from the Earth engagement. High Strategist Zolran stood at the center of the chamber, his scaled hands trembling as he manipulated the holographic displays, showing the systematic destruction of their invasion force. "Impossible," muttered Counselor Rekthar, his voice a mixture of rage and growing fear. "No civilization can possess technology of this magnitude." The data told a story that defied everything the Zorn understood about technological development. The human defensive systems weren't just advanced. They were so far beyond current galactic technology that they appeared to operate on principles that bordered on the incomprehensible. Back in the underground command center at Cape Canaveral, Emily Rodriguez walked a group of senior analysts through the initial analysis. The room was a marvel of human engineering, a space that looked more like an advanced research facility than a military command center. Holographic displays danced with quantum algorithms, showing the intricate ways the human defense network had dismantled the Zorn invasion. "Notice the predictive engagement models," she explained, pointing to a complex three-dimensional representation of the battle. "Our systems didn't just react. They anticipated Zorn movements with a precision that suggests a fundamental understanding of their technological and strategic limitations." Marcus Reyes brought up a series of comparative charts. Each one was a damning indictment of Zorn technological assumptions. The human defensive network had not just survived the initial assault. It had done so with a level of efficiency that suggested the entire engagement was more of a controlled demonstration than an actual defensive action. On the Zorn command ship, Grand Admiral Krelax convened an emergency strategy session. The holographic displays showed devastating losses. Over 73% of their initial invasion force had been eliminated without a single human casualty. "Analyze their technology," Krelax demanded of his chief science officer, a veteran researcher named Voxpal. "Find me something, anything, that explains this." Voxpal's analysis was brutal in its honesty. The human defensive systems operated on quantum principles that the Zorn had only theorized about. Multiple quantum states, predictive algorithms that seemed to exist simultaneously across different potential outcomes, communication networks that defied traditional understanding of information transfer. It's as if they've developed a technological framework that treats warfare as a multi-dimensional chess game, Voxpal reported, while we've been playing a simple linear strategy. The deeper the Zorn investigated, the more terrifying the truth became. The orbital defense platforms were merely the tip of a technological iceberg. Intercepted communications and data streams suggested a global network of defense systems that were so deeply integrated they seemed to operate as a single living entity. Emily Rodriguez understood the psychological warfare aspect of their response. This wasn't just about defending the planet. It was about sending a message to any civilization that might consider Earth a potential target. "We're letting them see just enough to understand how outmatched they are," she explained to Sarah Klein, her chief systems integration specialist. "But we're also holding back. They haven't seen our true capabilities." The Zorn High Council began to fracture. What had been a unified invasion force was now consumed by internal debates. Some argued for total withdrawal, while more aggressive factions insisted on continued assault. But the data was unequivocal. Earth represented a technological anomaly that defied everything they understood about galactic civilization. "Our initial scans were completely wrong," Counselor Rekthar admitted, his voice a mixture of professional analysis and personal trauma. "We categorized Earth as a pre-space civilization. The reality is something entirely different. The human defensive network was more than just a technological marvel. It was a carefully constructed system that had been developed over decades, integrating advances from multiple scientific disciplines: quantum computing, advanced artificial intelligence, predictive algorithms, and a global cooperation that transcended traditional political boundaries, all combined into a defensive system that was essentially invisible until the moment of engagement. As the Zorn continued to analyze their catastrophic losses, one fact became increasingly clear: Earth was not a potential conquest. It was a warning to the entire galaxy. The invasion pods screamed through Earth's atmosphere, a testament to Zorn technological might. Each pod was a marvel of engineering, designed to breach planetary defenses and deploy shock troops with unprecedented speed and precision. Commander Zaxriel watched from the lead vessel, confident in the superiority of Zorn military doctrine. Hundreds of pods descended in a carefully choreographed assault pattern, prepared to overwhelm any planetary resistance. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. Beneath the seemingly peaceful landscape of the American Midwest, a network of autonomous defense systems came to life. What appeared to be ordinary farmland, rolling hills, and abandoned industrial sites transformed with surgical precision. Camouflaged emplacements rose from the ground. Drone swarms materialized from hidden launch sites, and a web of defensive technology activated with near-instantaneous coordination. The first wave of invasion pods encountered something entirely unexpected. Instead of traditional ground-based defenses, they were met by a living, breathing technological ecosystem. Autonomous drones, each powered by quantum-enhanced artificial intelligence, began their systematic elimination. These weren't simple missile platforms or stationary guns. They were adaptive, predictive combat units that processed tactical information faster than biological intelligence could comprehend. Inside the underground command center, Emily Rodriguez watched the ground defense unfold with clinical precision. Each defense system was a node in a global network, communicating and adapting in microseconds. The drones moved with a fluidity that seemed almost organic, predicted Zorn troop movements before the aliens themselves knew their destination. Ground defense network is operating at 99.8% efficiency, Marcus Rice reported, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. Predictive engagement models are exceeding all initial projections. The Zorn invasion pods began to fall, not in explosions, but in controlled deconstructions that left minimal environmental impact. Each pod was systematically neutralized by a combination of electromagnetic pulse, targeted quantum disruption, and precision drone interception. It was less a battle and more a clinical demonstration of technological superiority. Commander Zaxriel watched in mounting horror as his invasion force was systematically dismantled. The communication channels erupted with panic and disbelief. Zorn shock troops, warriors who had conquered hundreds of worlds, found themselves completely neutralized before they could even deploy. Tactical analysis, Zaxriel demanded, his voice rising with a mixture of rage and growing terror. The response from his tactical officer was chilling. "Sir, we're facing a defensive network that doesn't just anticipate our movements. It controls the entire engagement space. Our pods are being neutralized before entry. Our communication systems are being jammed. Our tactical systems are being systematically disabled." Emily Rodriguez understood the psychological warfare aspect of their response. This wasn't just about defending the planet. It was about sending a message to the entire galaxy. The Autonomous Defense Network was a marvel of human ingenuity. Developed through decades of secret research, it represented the culmination of advances in artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and global cooperative technology. Each drone was more than a weapon. It was a thinking, adaptive combat unit that could process tactical information across multiple potential scenarios simultaneously. Ground invasion pods neutralized, Sarah Klein reported. 0 human casualties. Minimal environmental impact. The Zorn had approached Earth believing they were facing a primitive civilization. Instead, they encountered a defensive system so advanced it seemed to operate almost like a living organism. The drones didn't just destroy invasion pods. They did so with a level of precision and intelligence that suggested something far more terrifying than simple technological superiority. This was a calculated demonstration. Commander Zaxrel's final communication to the Zorn High Command was brief and terrifying. The invasion pods had been completely neutralized. The human ground defense network had eliminated their entire ground assault without firing a single traditional weapon. In the underground command center, Emily Rodriguez allowed herself a momentary smile. They had shown the Zorn, and by extension, the entire galaxy, just a fraction of humanity's true defensive capabilities. The universe was about to learn a lesson about underestimating the human species. The ground defense was complete, and this was just the beginning. The transmission began as a whisper across the galaxy, a carefully crafted message that would redefine humanity's place in the cosmic hierarchy. In the underground command center at Cape Canaveral, Emily Rodriguez oversaw the most complex communication effort in human history. This wasn't just a response to an invasion. It was a declaration. Quantum communication arrays, hidden across multiple continents, began broadcasting a multi-layered transmission that would simultaneously reach the Zorn command and be intercepted by every advanced civilization monitoring the conflict. Each frequency carried a different aspect of human achievement, a deliberate, calculated psychological warfare strategy that went far beyond traditional military communication. The first layer was visual, a stunning compilation of human accomplishments that stretched across millennia. From the first cave paintings to the intricate quantum computing networks, from the depths of the oceans to the edge of the solar system, the transmission painted a picture of a species that refused to be constrained by limitations. Marcus Reyes managed the technical aspects of the broadcast, his fingers moving with surgical precision across holographic interfaces. "Quantum encryption is stable," he reported. "Multi-dimensional communication channels are operating at maximum efficiency." The Zorn High Council received the transmission in their war room, the holographic displays flickering with imagery that defied their understanding. It wasn't just a message of defense, it was a comprehensive demonstration of human potential. Archaeological discoveries scrolled past, the intricate mathematics of ancient civilizations, the engineering marvels of forgotten cultures. Scientific breakthroughs flashed in rapid succession, medical advances that had conquered seemingly insurmountable diseases, technological innovations that had transformed human existence, ecological restoration projects that demonstrated a species capable of healing its own planet. Images of human creativity followed, art that captured the depth of emotional experience, music that represented mathematical complexity, literature that explored the furthest reaches of philosophical thought. Each image, each snippet of information was a carefully selected piece of a larger puzzle, a message that humanity was far more than a simple biological species. The technological segments were particularly devastating. The Zorn witnessed glimpses of research that suggested capabilities far beyond their own understanding. Quantum computing networks that operated across multiple dimensions, medical technologies that could rebuild cellular structures, environmental restoration systems that could heal entire ecosystems. "They're taunting us," Counselor Rekthar muttered, his voice a mixture of fear and grudging respect. But the most chilling aspect of the transmission was its underlying tone. There was no aggression, no threat. Simply a calm, almost clinical demonstration of what humanity was capable of. The message was clear. The orbital and ground defenses were nothing more than a fraction of human potential. Sarah Klein monitored the galactic communication networks. "Multiple civilizations are receiving the broadcast," she reported. "Preliminary analysis suggests widespread shock and recalibration of existing threat assessments." The transmission included subtle mathematical proofs, complex equations that demonstrated fundamental understanding of quantum mechanics, space-time manipulation, and computational theory. To advanced civilizations, these were more than just numbers. They were a language that spoke of technological capability beyond traditional understanding. Emily Rodriguez had personally overseen the creation of this message. It wasn't just about defending against the Zorn. It was about establishing humanity's place in the galactic community. A warning, a demonstration, a promise. The final segment of the transmission was perhaps the most powerful, A simple message, broadcast in multiple languages and quantum communication protocols. We did not seek this conflict. We are prepared to end it. The choice is yours. The Zorn High Council fell silent. The transmission continued to loop, a relentless reminder of human potential. What had begun as an invasion was transforming into something entirely different, a fundamental revaluation of humanity's place in the cosmos. In the underground command center, Emily Rodriguez allowed herself a momentary smile. They had shown the universe exactly what humanity could do, and this was just the beginning. The counterattack began not with weapons, but with information. Quantum entanglement communication networks, developed in secret over decades, activated with surgical precision. Emily Rodriguez watched as the first wave of humanity's response targeted the very core of Zorn Imperial infrastructure. In the underground command center, the air crackled with an almost electric tension. Marcus Rice managed a global network of quantum computing arrays that could do more than just process information. They could fundamentally disrupt entire technological ecosystems. Initiating first-phase infiltration, Marcus announced, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that seemed to breathe with living information. The Zorn believed their communication networks were impenetrable. They were wrong. Humanity's assault was a masterpiece of technological warfare. Instead of traditional attacks, they targeted the fundamental infrastructure of the Zorn civilization. Power grids across Zorn-controlled star systems began to flicker and fail. Communication networks collapsed from within, their encryption systems rendered meaningless by quantum-level intrusions. Military installations across multiple star systems found themselves suddenly vulnerable. Transportation networks ground to a halt. Financial systems disintegrated. The attack wasn't about destruction. It was about complete systemic paralysis. Sarah Klein monitored the Global Response Network. Quantum infiltration is operating at 99.6% efficiency, she reported. Zero trace of human intervention detected. The Zorn High Council watched in mounting horror as their civilization began to unravel. What had been a confident invasion force was now struggling to maintain basic infrastructure. Military communications became garbled. Navigation systems failed. Supply lines collapsed. This is impossible, Councillor Rekthar muttered, watching holographic displays that showed their entire technological framework being systematically dismantled. The counterattack demonstrated a fundamental truth about human technological development. While the Zorn had focused on military conquest, humanity had developed something far more powerful, a comprehensive understanding of technological systems that could be manipulated at the most fundamental level. Each quantum computing array was more than just a machine. It was a node in a global network that could process, predict, and manipulate information across multiple potential outcomes simultaneously. The Zorn's technological systems were being taken apart not through brute force, but through an almost surgical understanding of their fundamental architecture. Emily Rodriguez understood the psychological aspect of their response. This wasn't just about defending against an invasion. It was about sending a message to the entire galaxy. We're showing them exactly how outmatched they are, she explained to her team. Not through destruction, but through complete control. The most terrifying aspect of the counterattack was its precision. Entire star systems controlled by the Zorn found their most critical infrastructure failing simultaneously. Communication networks collapsed. Military command structures disintegrated. Economic systems ground to a halt. And yet there was no obvious source of the attack. No traditional weapon signatures. No clear point of origin. It was as if the Zorn's technological framework simply began to consume itself. Quantum infiltration complete, Marcus reported. Total systemic disruption achieved. The Zorn High Council's emergency communication channel erupted in chaos. Military commanders reported total communication breakdown. Supply lines had collapsed. Critical infrastructure was failing across multiple star systems. What had begun as a confident invasion of Earth was transforming into an existential threat to the entire Zorn civilization. Emily Rodriguez allowed herself a momentary smile. They had shown the Zorn, and by extension, the entire galaxy, just a fraction of humanity's true capabilities. The counterattack was complete, and this was just the beginning. In the cold vastness of space, a new power had made itself known. The universe would never be the same. The diplomatic chamber aboard the Zorn command vessel was a study in tension. Grand Admiral Krelax and the remaining members of the High Council sat opposite a single human representative, a woman who looked more like she was about to teach a university seminar than negotiate with a defeated alien empire. Emily Rodriguez arrived precisely on time, her movements calculated, her presence radiating a calm that seemed to unsettle the Zorn leadership more than any weapon could. The chamber itself was a marvel of technological integration, with holographic displays showing the systematic dismantling of Zorn infrastructure that had occurred in the preceding hours. "You understand the full extent of what has happened," Emily began, her voice calm and clinical. It wasn't a question. Councillor Rekthar, his scaled features betraying a mixture of fury and grudging respect, spoke first. "You've destroyed our invasion force, crippled our infrastructure. What do you want?" Emily's smile was razor-thin. "Want? We want nothing. We're offering you a chance to understand." The holographic displays began to shift, showing not just the technological capabilities that had been demonstrated, but the potential that remained hidden. Glimpses of research projects, quantum computing networks, adaptive technological ecosystems that made the Zorn's most advanced systems look like primitive counting devices. "Your civilization approached Earth believing we were a primitive species," Emily continued. "You saw our communications, our seemingly fractured global systems, and assumed weakness. What you fail to understand is that our diversity is our strength. Our ability to collaborate, to innovate, to adapt, that is our true power." Marcus Reyes, monitoring the communication from the underground command center, watched every nuanced interaction. The diplomatic engagement was as carefully constructed as their military response, a comprehensive demonstration of human capability. The Zorn leadership struggled to comprehend the full magnitude of their defeat. This wasn't just a military loss. It was a fundamental challenge to everything they understood about technological development and galactic civilization. "We could have destroyed your entire civilization," Emily explained, her voice almost clinical in its detachment. "The counterattack you witnessed was a fraction of our capabilities, a warning, a demonstration." Holographic displays showed potential scenarios: complete systemic collapse of Zorn infrastructure, total economic destruction, absolute military neutralization. Each projection was more terrifying than the last, not because of its destructive potential, but because of its calculated precision. Sarah Klein's voice came through the communication channel. "Diplomatic communication channels are stable. Quantum encryption maintaining complete information control." The Zorn High Council exchanged glances. They were being offered something unprecedented, not conquest, not subjugation, but a chance to understand. The human representative wasn't demanding surrender. She was offering a fundamental revaluation of their place in the galactic ecosystem. "We are not interested in your territory," Emily continued. "We are interested in preventing future conflicts. Your invasion was based on fundamental misunderstandings about our civilization. We are offering you knowledge instead of destruction." Grand Admiral Krelax found his voice. "And what knowledge could you possibly offer?" Emily's response was calculated. "The understanding that technological superiority is not about weapons. It's about adaptation, creativity, the ability to solve problems that haven't even been conceived yet." The diplomatic engagement was itself a weapon, a psychological demonstration more powerful than any military assault. The Zorn were being shown that humanity's true strength lay not in its ability to destroy, but in its capacity to understand, to adapt, to grow. "You have two choices," Emily concluded. "Continued conflict, which will result in the complete dismantling of your civilization, or cooperation, learning, understanding." The chamber fell silent. The holographic displays continued their silent demonstration of potential, a terrifying landscape of technological capability that suggested humanity had been holding back, not from weakness, but from choice. In that moment, the Zorn leadership understood a fundamental truth. They were no longer the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Humanity had just rewritten the rules of galactic interaction. 1 month after the failed invasion, the galactic community watched in stunned silence as a new order began to take shape. The remnants of the Zorn Imperial Armada limped home, their once proud fleet reduced to a shadow of its former self. Galactic communication networks buzzed with rumors, speculation, and an underlying current of fear. In the underground command center at Cape Canaveral, Emily Rodriguez reviewed the final reports. The diplomatic engagement had been more than just a negotiation. It was a fundamental restructuring of interstellar relations. Galactic recognition protocols are complete, Marcus Rice reported, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. All major civilizations have updated their threat assessments. The changes were subtle but profound. Diplomatic channels that had existed for millennia were being rewritten. Star charts were being modified. Defense strategies were being completely reconsidered. Humanity had not just defended itself, it had fundamentally altered the galactic landscape. Sarah Klein monitored the global communication networks. Diplomatic recognition requests are streaming in from multiple star systems, she announced. Everyone wants to understand what just happened. The Zorn's defeat was more than a military loss. It was a comprehensive demonstration of technological, strategic, and diplomatic superiority that sent shockwaves through every advanced civilization in the known galaxy. The transmission that had accompanied their defense, a comprehensive showcase of human achievement, continued to be analyzed by research teams across multiple star systems. Emily Rodriguez understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't about conquest. It was about establishing a new paradigm of interstellar interaction. Quantum communication networks began to expand, not as a military tool, but as a diplomatic bridge. The technologies that had been used to dismantle the Zorn invasion were now being offered as collaborative platforms. Research exchanges, technological partnerships, a fundamental reimagining of interstellar cooperation. The Zorn High Council, once the most feared military force in the galaxy, had been transformed. Their civilization was now engaged in a comprehensive technological and cultural exchange program with Earth. What had begun as an invasion was now becoming the most significant diplomatic breakthrough in galactic history. Preliminary cultural exchange protocols are being established, Marcus reported. The Zorn are sharing technological insights in exchange for human collaborative research. The underground command center was more than a military installation now. It had become the center of a new form of galactic diplomacy. Research teams from multiple civilizations were requesting access, hoping to understand the technological marvel that had so comprehensively neutralized what was once considered an unstoppable invasion force. Emily Rodriguez allowed herself a momentary reflection. The defense had been decades in the making. A global project that transcended national boundaries, political differences, and traditional technological limitations. Humanity had prepared not just for an invasion, but for a fundamental shift in their place in the universe. Holographic displays showed the expanding network of diplomatic and technological exchanges. The Zorn were just the beginning. Other civilizations were reaching out, seeking to understand, to collaborate, to learn. "We're rewriting the rules of galactic interaction," Emily explained to her team. "Not through conquest, but through collaboration." The final report from the Zorn High Council was a testament to the comprehensive nature of humanity's response. They had not just defended against an invasion. They had demonstrated a level of technological and strategic capability that fundamentally challenged every existing model of interstellar interaction. Sarah Klein's voice cut through the reflection. "Incoming diplomatic transmission from the Galactic Cooperative Council," she announced. The holographic display showed a comprehensive recognition document. Humanity was no longer just another emerging civilization. They were now a recognized power, with all the diplomatic and technological privileges that entailed. In the cold vastness of space, everything had changed. Humanity had arrived. and the universe would never be the same.